Hi guys, in this final video we are going to export a playblast of our basic animation. So playblasts are really good for creating animatics or previs animations. They show you all the movement of your animation at the correct speed, but they don't give you any textures or lighting or anything like that. So they export pretty much instantaneously, and there isn't a really long render time. So what we're going to do is pop down to our play button down here, and we're going to right click on it, and you'll see that the very bottom option is called Playblast. We'll go into the option for that and we'll take a look at some of these. So what we want to do basically is adjust some of these settings, and it'll indicate sort of what part of the viewport it's going to export. So the first thing I want to do is turn off show ornaments. Okay, what that's going to do is get rid of things like the little axis indicator, probably the view cube, maybe even these little titles and things. The format, okay, that's going to be dependent on the computer that you're rendering on. I've got AVI available to me. I also have QuickTime available to me because I have QuickTime installed. I'd probably go with a QuickTime, perhaps. Now the encoding, I'm going to use MPEG-4 video, which you can use for QuickTime. That's basically the same kind of format that you'd be using for YouTube uploads and so on. H.264, which was in there, I think, is kind of a variant of MPEG-4. So yeah, you can set the quality to maximum. That's fine. It's only going to be a short video. The display size, just here, what we can do is actually set that from render settings, and that's going to give me a video file size, in this case of 960 by 540. If we go into the render options and we change that to HD 720, it'll actually give us footage that should be at this size. Okay, so the actual final size that we'd actually do our proper renders at. If you're doing potentially previs animations, pre-visualization animations, or animatics using playblasts, it's probably a good idea to do them at the actual size you're going to be rendering the files at, because it'll allow the editors, as they're putting together cuts, as visual effects shots become completed throughout the filmmaking process, it'll allow you to kind of have previs shots combined with finished shots as the edits are being completed. So if they're all at the same size, they kind of just match in without needing to rescale things. So yeah, we can kind of do it that way. So we want to set the scale here to 1. Okay, if we don't, basically what it does is it seems to take whatever setting you've got here and it halves it. Okay, so a scale of 1 will basically do it at full size of whatever this is. We don't want to save a temporary file. The frame padding, really, it gets embedded in a video anyway, so we don't really need to worry about that. But we do want to save it to a file. And the movie file will automatically try and call itself Playblast. So what we can do is actually, leave that in there, but what I'll do is call this Hype. That's obviously my magazine logo name. So I'll call this Hype Logo Playblast and then give it a number. So I might call it like 001 or something like that. Now the browse option will allow you to place that in a particular folder. If I hit browse, you'll see it takes me straight to the movies folder inside my project folder just there. So it'll just export to there, and that should be fine. Okay, so basically when you're happy with those settings, you hit Playblast. Now what it should do is play through the animation, and you can see that occurring just there. So it plays through and it's basically exporting and rendering that out. Now normally what now would happen is, there we go, QuickTime opens up and plays the video automatically. Now in this situation it's actually played it so quickly that it's finished playing it by the time the actual QuickTime kind of is ready to be viewed. So you can always just kind of just hit the play button again. So this is playing at actual speed. for, you know, all my frame rates and everything. So it's a good indication of what the final logo would actually look like. Now, if we were going to do a batch render, like an actual full-blown render of this, what we can do obviously is kind of set our render settings up, you know, add lighting and, you know, all our render settings that we want, you know, set mental ray up, set our quality and our filters and so on. But what we would want to do is probably save this out using an alpha channel. Now what that's going to be is whatever camera we're using. So for example, we'd use camera 1 in this case. We want to have alpha channel ticked just here. And we want to pick a format which allows an alpha channel to be embedded. So the image format, for example, you might use a Targa or a PSD or even a PNG just here. And what that's going to allow you to do when you export this is composite it over the top of another background using After Effects or Premiere or Final Cut Pro or Sony Vegas, whatever editing software or visual effects compositing software you're using. So, you know, for example, let's say I'm going to use a PSD. I'll use a PSD. And, you know, I set my batch render up. I batch render the sequence out and I end up with a bunch of PSDs, okay? I'm just going to simulate that by rendering a single frame, and I'll save this out as a PSD. So that's my, let's say that's my final render, and it's all been saved out. Oops, let's close that for a second. We'll go save image, and we'll call it a PSD. Got it in the images folder. So let's just say that this is my final sequence. With all my frames in it, all ready to go. Let's just save that. What I can do is if I bring up that file, there we go. So let's say this is, you can see here in Photoshop when I open the file, it actually has a transparent background. Okay, so anything that wasn't polygons in the scene has been created as transparency within the PSD that I've rendered, right? So if I jump into After Effects, I can actually composite this over the top of another image. So let's just grab that file so I can drop my sequence in, let's say. I'm going to merge the layers for this, that'll be fine. It's doing that because it's a PSD. Okay, and if I grab just like a background image or something, so I don't know, let's just grab this, it's got plenty of contrast in it. Okay, there we go. That's smaller than that, so what I can do here basically is if I just create a composition out of that, so it's just a sky background. I can then grab the PSD, or you know, my actual sequence, so this would be kind of like a video sequence, and you can see it just actually composites it straight over the top. So After Effects is automatically accepting that alpha channel, that transparency. So yeah, it's really just a case of making sure that when you export a batch render, if you were going to do a batch render of your sequence, you just need to make sure that in your render settings, you're actually using an image format which has the ability of having an alpha channel. So PSDs, PNGs, TGAs, EXRs will do it as well. But you might find the file sizes are bigger. So yeah, I'd probably stick with maybe the PNGs or the PSDs. And that will allow you to composite your logo animation over the top of something else, like some video footage or something like that. Okay, so I'm going to leave this video here. I just wanted to show you how to export those playblasts primarily. We'll leave this here, and yeah, have a play around with that process and try and come up with an interesting little logo animation. I'll see you next time.